Hello and welcome to another episode of the JTA podcast, where we are just talking about films. My name is Ian Sargentson.
And my name's Luke Taylor, and it is great to be with you. And we love just coming together every week and to talk about films. And it's just the two of us this week, but you know what? I think we've got plenty to talk about.
Yeah. And yeah, we've had some great guests over the week. So if you're interested, I'll just put this out there again. If you're interested in coming on, just talking about films with us, then get in touch via Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube. Or if you do know us personally, then send us a text or whatever it is there.
Yeah, because that's the whole point of this podcast is we want to have conversations, and we want to have conversations with you. If you're into film, if you enjoy talking about films, then we want to talk to you about films. And listen, you don't have to have an extreme depth of knowledge. We don't all have to be Simon Dillon, who was our first guest. We just want to be able to have conversations because we just love talking about them. And during this last year, when we haven't been able to so much with people, it's really made me realise how much I've missed doing that.
Yeah, and I think it's been good. I think the guests that we've had on have all been different. They've all brought something different. They've all, had different opinions and watched films in a different way and talked about them in a different way. So I've really enjoyed that. For you and I, there's been parts of it of conversations that we're not really that well versed in. So whether it's Bruce Lee or horror or all the films with great expectations, or B movies or made for TV movies, all stuff that's been discussed. So yeah, however you watch films, however you enjoy them, if you think I can't go on there, we just want you lead the conversation, talk to us about what aspect of film and cinema it is that you love and that you appreciate, whether that's Sandra Bullock films or whether it's, I don't know, Shakespeare, represented on screen, whatever it is.
You can't know somebody who likes Sandra Bullock films. That's not possible.
Yeah, I've got a friend and he really likes Sandra Bullock films. I've invited him on a couple of times, but he's not.
Are we thinking of the same person?
To this in his car. So if he is, then come on and talk to us.
and hey, recommend films to us. I've started watching films as a result of doing this that I probably wouldn't have ever thought of watching before. Last week, John recommended that we watched Dora the Explorer, and I'll spoil that I watched it this week.
Did you?
I did.
I must confess, though, over the last 2 weeks, I haven't watched as many films because the Euros have been on. And as much as I love film, I also love football. And there's only so much time you can get away with in a day. So when I'm watching football for up to 4 hours a day, I can't spend the rest of my time, either not talking to my wife or not working. So, so it's a big balance.
I'm blessed with the gift of not liking football, so I've had loads of time. In fact, when we've been out to the cinema, it's been quiet. Great. So I guess let's start by just asking that question. What have you been watching this week? And let's start with you, Ian. What have you been watching this week?
Yeah, so I've watched 3 films this week. One, I think I mentioned last week that I was just about to start, and one that was halfway through, and it took me over 2 weeks to watch it. And the other was just one that I found, an independent film I found yesterday. So we'll start with the one that's took me a couple of weeks to watch, and that was SpiderMan Into the Spiderverse.
Yes.
So I told you a couple of times that, I was kind of enjoying it, but it was just a bit busy for me. But I finally finished it, and I really did enjoy it. If you haven't seen it or don't know much about it, it's an animated feature about Spider-Man, as it says, and there's a Spiderverse. There's different multiverses. Well, there's a multiverse of different spider people that come together. I was saying it was a bit busy, and I think it was, but I don't think I'm the target audience. So I loved the story, but the criticism from me would be it was a bit too comic-y. But that is the whole intention of the film. So, but I didn't hate that. I thought the music was good. I thought the animation was excellent. Apart from all the bits where it split screens and was thwack and smash and woo and all of this. I could have done without that, but I realised that was why they did it. So if you're a purist and love comic books, I imagine you will love it. So I loved the story, particularly the second half. I thought when it really got going.
It's got a good emotional hook on it, hasn't it?
Yeah, yeah. There was some good depth in there, some good, as you say, emotional hook. I think, and this is probably where it gets with film, there's something in me that I don't really like the abstract too much unless it's suggested at the beginning that the whole thing is abstract. So Star Wars, I get it because it's set as it's where it is. It's in a galaxy far, far away a long time ago. So I get it. So I'm buying into that. When it's something set on Earth and it's not mentioned, and then so like, yeah, so I don't always get that. So with this, the issues that I had are stupid, but they bother me somewhat. The first was the pig. Just didn't like it. It was a nonsense character. Irritated me beyond all measure. The film would have been significantly better without it. And secondly, the fact that Kingpin is like as big as a building. I'm not having that. Do you know what I mean? And the proportions are all wrong. Yeah, I get he was a large man, but come on. Do you know what I mean? No one said, where's he get his suits made? Anyway, so, but love the film overall. I thought it was really good because I didn't think I would like it because I'm not really into that thing, but I did enjoy that. So, yeah, that was the first thing.
That's good. I love the moment where Miles finally embraces being Spider-Man, and he does that bit where he leaps off the roof and the shot goes upside down and the music kicks in. We were talking last week about iconic scenes where the music makes a huge difference. I tell you what, that didn't come to mind until now, but that is one of them.
Yeah, it was excellent. They said, so I don't think you ever really appreciate, because it's animation, we appreciate scenes as much, or direction, or cinematography, so to speak, in it, but there was some really excellent shots in it, and an excellent animation. So I thought that was really good. As you say, there was an emotional hook. I just thought the animation was really good for the large part, but that pig, it was like the Jar Jar Binks of the Spiderverse.
Yeah, you kind of either have to embrace the pig or it doesn't work at all. Yeah.
So that was the first one I've watched. Second one was, as I say, I mentioned I was going to start last week, was There Will Be Blood. And this is back on my track of rewatching films that I've seen before to see if they hold up, or films that I can't remember. Because the way I've watched films have changed. And There Will Be Blood, I know I'd seen it before, but it's probably one of theirs that was forgettable because it wasn't instant gratification. You have to really engage with the film and listen to the dialogue and understand the performances and look at the character. And I didn't do that when this film was released. It's not how I watch films. But now I do. I think I enjoyed the film. I think Daniel Day-Lewis was exceptional. He's really, really good. But you would expect nothing else. But he is superb, absolutely superb.
Did he win the Oscar for that one?
Pardon?
Did he win the Oscar for that?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
But the film is basically, it's about a guy who's into oil, but he's an oil tycoon, so he digs for oil, and it's about his pursuit of that and the morality, and when things go wrong, and then he comes into conflict. Ironic for you and I, he comes into conflict with the church, or a version of the church that probably you or I won't relate to that well. But,
right.
So, and it's about a bit of tension there. So the performance from Daniel Day-Lewis was excellent. The acting altogether was excellent. I think there's a darkness to it that was really good, but ultimately it just felt a bit rudderless. So we had this character that was, really complex, and he does, not bring out the worst in you, but you end up really angry with him and not liking him. Well, I did, but I just didn't know where the story was going or what it was aiming for, or it was just a bit anticlimactic for me. Although the ending I thought was pretty dark. So I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the performances. I enjoyed it as a piece of filmmaking. As a story, it kind of left me a bit underwhelmed, to be honest. Because I was like, yeah, and what? So I watched that, and then the final one I watched was a film called Wasteland.
All right.
So it's an independent film, and it's a bit like a council estate version of The Bourne Identity.
Okay.
So I know that's a good. So it's set in Bradford, but it's a guy. You don't know much about him, but it opens with him. You're thinking he's dead, but he's not. He's just been beaten up really badly, but he doesn't know why, and he doesn't know who he is or where he lives, and he's taken in by this family for a little bit, and then the picture starts unfolding about who he is and how he's quite complex and he's quite dangerous. And then a bit like Memento as well. He putting the story together about what happened to him with flashbacks, and then it becomes apparent what happened, and then it requires him to do something about it. So there's a revenge aspect to it as well. I thought it was good. I thought it was well-made film. I thought it was one of them ones that drifts along a bit, and then at the end, I'm thinking, I thought I really liked that. Not particularly, but one of the things I really did like was the final scene with the credits rolling and stuff. I just thought, and the music and song was really powerful. But yeah, it's another film I'd recommend. I think I watched it on Sky, but it's called Wasteland, and yeah, it was good. The acting was really good, and it's one of them independent films, I say, set in Bradford in the north of England, so it's good.
No, never heard of it, but it sounds.
No, I hadn't until yesterday.
Where did you come across it?
Let's give this a watch. It was one of them ones, where I don't know about you, Luke, but I have Sky, I have Netflix, I have Amazon, I have Disney, and sometimes I'm going, well, I've got thousands of Blu-rays and DVDs, and I say, what shall I watch? And I'm skipping through and I can't, and this one comes up. So I go, well, it looks a bit rubbish. It looks like, I don't know. And then I go on IMDb, and the rating's quite good, and some of the reviews are quite good. I don't read them too in depth because I don't want any spoilers. But I go, yeah, so I've got a few films that way. That's how I got that Calibre I told you about the other week, and The Wild Rose that I told you about.
Yeah.
And yeah, because the expectations are low or you don't have any, I was pleasantly surprised. So yeah, I think it's worth a watch, definitely.
Okay, I'll try and, what's it called? Wilderness?
Wasteland.
Oh, I was pretty close. Hang on, I'm just going to add it to my Letterboxd wish list now.
So if you're watching or listening and you've seen any of them films, or have you got any opinions on There Will Be Blood, or you want to challenge me on my views, or you agree with me on my views of Spider-Man Into the Spiderverse, or you've seen Wasteland, because I don't know anyone else that's seen it, get in touch. Or if you do watch it off the back of this podcast, let us know what you think.
It's not the one I've found. It's a 5-part film that deals with a variety of subjects such as mental illness, the subject of reality. That's not it, is it? I'll find
this is probably a bit where it's going to be embarrassing for me, and I got the name of the film wrong. Let me just check. I'm pretty sure that was it.
Sorry, maybe looking things up online. It was my fault. Yeah. I'm not the best way.
No. But yeah, so what have you been watching, Luke?
Right, well, this week I haven't had as good a week as last week. I haven't watched as much, although it wasn't because of the football.
Oh, sorry, 1 minute. It is called Wasteland.
Yeah.
But it does have an alternate name. It was called The Rise. So I don't know if they're...
The Rise.
It's not The Rise. No, it's called Wasteland, yeah. I've seen... I don't know if it's a remake or something. I'll find out before the end of the thing, and then we'll...
All right, okay. That's cool. Yes, so this week, I started off this week with I had it paused for a while, but I've been doing a rewatch of the Marvel films. So this week I did Iron Man 3, which I think it's the best of the Iron Man films. I know some people didn't like it. They didn't like the whole twist with the Mandarin, but actually I thought it was funny, and I think it's very well written, and it's nice to have that difference in it, in that it's not just a Marvel film, it's a Shane Black film, and it's got all of his hallmarks, all of his stylings in it, and I really enjoyed Iron Man 3, so I did that this week. I'm not sure which one's next now. Then last week, because it's the 40th anniversary of Indiana Jones, I did Raiders of the Lost Ark and Temple of Doom. And then this week, I did Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade and Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. And I have some thoughts.
Okay.
First of all, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade was always my favourite Indiana Jones film when I grew up. From since I saw it. And I think part of the reason was it caught me at the right time. I was a little older when they came out, and I caught that one at the right time. So it's always been my favourite one. But I have to admit, watching it now, it's not the best of them. It's I'd say it's definitely a long way from Raiders of the Lost Ark in terms of how good it was. It's definitely above Temple of Doom and certainly above Crystal Skull. But I was thinking about it, when Spielberg was making Raiders of the Lost Ark, his previous film had flopped, 1941, completely flopped, gone over budget, gone over schedule. And it's bizarre as it seems to say this now, but Spielberg actually had to prove himself. He was in a position where he'd had a flop, he'd gone over budget, and the studios didn't trust him. He'd had his big successes, but the studios were a bit like, maybe this guy's lost it. And when he took on Raiders of the Lost Ark, he had to prove not only could he make a hit, but he could make a hit in time and on budget. So the pressure on him when he was making Raiders of the Lost Ark was huge. And I think that shows in the film. I think the film is a director trying to prove he's got it still. Yeah. And everything about it is so well thought out, so well done. The shots and the photography, all of it is so stunning. And then when you get to Indiana Jones' Last Crusade, Spielberg's got nothing to prove anymore. I mean, he is, the director by the time we get to this. It's only a few years later, but still. And you can tell he hasn't got anything to prove. He's, it doesn't have the same look. The iconic shots are not there. It's a good film. It's enjoyable. It plays the action sequences maybe just as much for laughs as it does for action. And, it shows you can get, when you get comfortable and you don't have to prove yourself anymore, you can still do it. But there's something about the hunger of the first film that makes it extra special, I think.
Yeah. And I think I experienced a bit of this because I watched them all again a couple of years ago, and I had such good memories of Indiana Jones that I was in no doubt that I would love them. But the truth is, when I look at it, I think I love Raiders of the Lost Ark and the rest are acceptable.
Yes.
If some of them aren't acceptable, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But all of my positivity, I think, came from one of the films.
Yes, I think so. And Raiders stands above all of the rest. Now, I still enjoyed Last Crusade. I think it was a lot of fun. It's great. It's a fun film. But it doesn't have that same energy as the first one. But then I watched Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, which I haven't seen since it came out at the cinema. I actually owned the DVD. We got rid of a whole bunch of DVDs recently, and that one, it still had the foil on it. So I bought it and never watched it. But I was convinced. I was like, right, okay, now I'm doing all of these back to back. I'm going to have a hot take on this film that it's going to be, one of those films where when you look back at it now, actually secretly it's good. Unfortunately, no, I can't do that. It is obnoxiously bad. It is. I can't work out what on earth. You're watching it, you think, how is this the same people that made Raiders of the Lost Ark? I mean, the thought, even the character. I mean, I know the whole character, Shia LaBeouf's character, Mutt Williams, has come in for a lot of flack, but the thinking behind it, the dialogue, everything just seems so clunky and awful. And it's not just the aliens. The alien stuff, I get what they were doing. They want to try and make it like it's because it's set in the 60s or 50s. It's a bit of a B movie kind of thing. I get that. But it's just so uninvolving. And, there's a chase sequence in Raiders of the Lost Ark where he's, when he's jumping from van to van and, and all that. Stunning. And in The Last Crusade, there's another one where he's chasing the tank. Brilliant sequence. The one where they're in the jungle and everything seems to be CG. And they're doing stuff that's impossible to do. I mean, not just comically impossible, but just ridiculous. Like the Mutt Williams character with a leg on each truck. And you're just like, it's just stupid. It's so stupid. And I was sat there thinking, and I'd actually watched Dora and the Lost City of Gold at this point, which is trying to be an Indiana Jones film. And I was sat there thinking, this isn't as good an Indiana Jones film as, first of all, as National Treasure. National Treasure is a better Indiana Jones film than that Indiana Jones film. In fact, National Treasure 2 is a better Indiana Jones film than The Crystal Skull. In fact, Dora the Explorer is a better Indiana Jones film than The Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
So you're a fan then?
Dora the Explorer was fun. I laughed consistently. The story kept me going the whole time. I had a great time. And while I was watching Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, I was wishing I was watching Dora the Explorer.
Wow. So that's a big thing. As I say, I think my mind was distorted just all about Raiders of the Lost Ark. But it's certainly a good thing to chat. And I've got a friend, maybe he's listening and watching, who I know loves Indiana Jones. So I'm sure he'll get in touch and tell us his thoughts, or I'd appreciate it if he did. But you like Dora then? So tell us about Dora.
Dora, yeah. I mean, it had me. I've never actually seen, the kids series. No. There'd be something wrong if I had. So I've not seen it. But you kind of get, I guess, in the first few minutes, what it's doing with that. And I have to say, a couple of minutes in, I was watching it by myself to start with, and I stopped and I said to Amelia, "You'll enjoy this actually," because she had no intention of watching it either. And we had a great time watching it. It's funny, the action's good. It's it ends in a big, both Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull and National Treasure 2 and this are all looking for the lost city of gold. And this was the most satisfying city of gold out of all of them.
All right.
It's funny. It's knowing, it's, playing with the format a bit. And, there's some stuff that makes absolutely no sense, but that's okay.
But I'd heard these things before. And then obviously John said them last week. And then you've said them. So it might be because at all times, it can't be that good. People just exaggerating. But I'll have to give it a watch.
You'll know within the first few minutes whether you're going to like it or not. And there is an extended sequence where she goes to school in America. And that bit's probably the weakest part of the film, but it does set you up well for where the film's going to go after that.
Okay.
But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed. I never thought I'd say this, but I thoroughly enjoyed Dora and the Lost City of Gold.
Brilliant. So Iron Man 3, 2 Indiana Jones films.
Yeah, and I've two more films this week I've managed to fit
and Dora,
in. Well.
And you've got 2 more films, right?
Yeah. So we went to see it. We went to cinema again, and I was dragged. Yeah, I don't mind saying I was dragged to see In the Heights, which is the new musical from Lin-Manuel Miranda,
who you're a big fan of.
Well, yeah. I have to. I mean, I'll say I didn't get Hamilton. That's
yeah, it was one of the things, and we've talked about in the past. The same with The Greatest Showman for me, and I don't just want to pick on the musicals, but Parasite as well. That because of the hype, it had a lot to live up to.
Yeah.
Hamilton was the same, and again, I watched it on the screen. I think I can't remember who had it on, Disney or someone did.
It was Disney, yeah.
So watched it. You don't get the same experience if you see it on the stage, I guess. But I didn't overly get it. I think for a lot of reasons. One of them, I don't know my American history that well.
Yeah, I mean, I had a bit of trepidation going in to see it. I'll be honest. First of all, because I didn't like The Greatest Showman at all, and I thought, am I going to have another bad musical experience? So I was kind of dragged to watch it. But I got to say, by the time the title screen comes up that says In the Heights, which is about 5 minutes, it's got a whole bit before it, a song. By the time it gets to that, I was already sat there thinking, no, this is great. Okay. This is great. It is full of it. The thing is with musicals, the second somebody starts singing their emotions, you're breaking with reality. Yeah. You know that. So this film knows that fine well and leans into that. And there's a wonderful sequence where they start dancing on a wall of a building, and it just happens. You don't even think about it because they're singing. And straight away, as soon as it starts, it's talking about Washington Heights as this magical place.
Just to clarify, dancing on the wall like vertically?
Yes, yeah.
No, I'm not having that already. I'm not having that.
No.
I can't be seeing things like that.
It totally works in the context of the moment of it. And it's just done so casually. the camera just gradually sort of moves around, and it's done so. Honestly, it's a brilliant moment when it happens.
Well, you've already got me thinking. I hate stuff like that. I'm not going to like it because you can't do that. You can't do that. You can, if you wish to, start singing. You can, but you can't just start walking up on the side of a wall unless it's explained, like Mary Poppins, that she's got superpowers. Right, but carry on.
But it's a good moment. Anyway, it only happens once, but right from the start, he's talking to these kids about Washington Heights. He's and Washington Heights is this magical place where it's full of music. So the second you go to Washington Heights, you feel like you're experiencing it as he's talking about it. It's like a fairy story in a sense about this place, and. I was totally into it. I came away thinking, the music, it was so joyful, the music. I mean, I came out happy.
So that's what I want. So that bit sounds good. Do you know what I mean? The bit where talking about this magical place of music, and I get that. That I'm thinking, I'd like to watch that, particularly if the scenes look good. Like, I guess that's what the scene behind you is.
Yes, that's just I guess from the stage play, but yes.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? So something like that where it's showing you nice colours and a nice colour palette. So I get that and I want that, but dancing on the thing, I'll just have to...
It only happens, it's in the moment it's in, it kind of... It's not like, so it's just in the middle of a song, they start dancing on the wall, and it's just two people. But once you go into a point where you go into a swimming pool and everybody's doing synchronised swimming to your song, you've kind of broke with reality anyway.
Yeah, but I mean, for that reason, I say I like La La Land, and I've talked about this before. Much prefer. I think it's far, far, far superior to The Greatest Showman. But that had me happy, although it's quite a sad story.
Yeah,
do you know? Ultimately, it's quite sad. But it had me happy, had me feeling happy every time I watch it. The colours, the acting, the just feeling warm, and it just did. So I hope I'll probably look out for this then, because at first I wasn't sure.
After COVID, it's kind of this story that's essentially about community and everybody, this whole area and everybody supporting each other, and there's I came out with a big smile. It was funny. Amelia was sat there the whole film thinking, Luke's going to be hating this. He's going to be hating this. So it just me at the end. I was like, no. I by the time it got to saying In the Heights, I was like, okay, I'm in.
Yeah. And that's good then. I'm glad that. So I'll keep an eye out for that. Really.
Yeah. And the one last film I did this week was the new Pixar film, Luca.
Yeah.
Which is about two. You want to call them mermaid, but not mermen, merboys? No, that doesn't quite work either. The kind of sea monsters, I guess, or something strange like that. Who. Near a small Italian sea village, and they come on land, and it's... If I'd gone to the cinema to see it, I'd have been disappointed, I think. It's definitely not top-tier Pixar.
No.
It's kind of like a... When so recently seen something like Mitchell and the Machines. It's the only other animated film I've seen new recently. It doesn't even compare in terms of how, it was okay, but it's like, it's not a good Pixar. Don't think of something as being as good as Up or WALL-E or anything like that.
Right.
Had a pleasant enough time, but that was about it.
Well, all right, so that's what we've been watching this week. Get in touch. Let us know what you've been watching. Let us know any recommendations you've got. I've got in the plan to watch with Kate tomorrow. I'm going to finally get to A Quiet Place tomorrow. Not to A Quiet Place. I'm going to watch A Quiet Place.
Oh, are you? I can't wait to hear what you got.
I've convinced Kate to watch that with me. So, we'll see, because it's interesting. I want to watch the second one. So, so let us know what you've been watching. Let us know what you recommend for us to watch. Let us know about the thoughts you have on the films that we've mentioned, on Luke's Indiana Jones rant, on Dora the Explorer, on SpiderMan Into the Spiderverse. That film, actually, that I was talking about, apparently, I found out the Sky have got the wrong title for the film. So on Sky, it's called Wasteland, but the film is actually called Undercliff. So I think Undercliff is an area of Bradford. But
right.
So, which explains a few things to me, because I think, do you know what I said? I went online and read these reviews. I think I was reading reviews for another film. Because it was like, it said, he gets his friends back together to get revenge on this gangster. And I was like, well, he doesn't know who his friends are. When's he going to get his friends? And he never got his friends. So I thought someone had just misunderstood. But on Sky, so if anybody from Sky is watching, you've got the title of this film wrong. But on Sky, it's called Wasteland, but the actual film is called Undercliff.
Wow, that's a strange thing, isn't it?
Yeah, so I watched it on a film, basically on the back of a rating from another film. But this is actually rated higher with its proper title than it was than the other film was. So,
wow.
So yeah, it's like a mix of, as I said, like a council estate version of Born Identity, Memento, and maybe something a bit like Lock, Stock or something.
I got to say, that is quite the pitch.
Yeah, I mean, if
they haven't called it that, they've missed a trick.
Yeah, of course. So, very good. Right, so and then something else I wanted to talk about this week, Luke, was because we touched on it briefly last week, and there's a couple of things, but the first thing is something we touched on briefly last week, and I think we asked a question this week on social media when you were talking about, I can't remember which film it was now, that you said you'd love to be able to go back and watch it for the first time.
Oh, I can't remember, but I think I can't remember. Oh, it was A Quiet Place 2.
Oh, Quiet Place 2. Yeah, right. So, yeah, it was because, but we asked the question, you said, what films would you like to forget? And I came up with a couple of things, like some films I'd like to forget so I could watch them again for the first time. Some films I'd just like to forget. But, yeah, so it just got me thinking about that, about films that had just a great impact on it. So I think I've been thinking of this, and I think one of the ones for me would be Forrest Gump. Because I had no idea what the film was about. It was just, I think I only watched it because Tom Hanks was in it. But it was about, the title is A Name of a Man. And even I wouldn't have even recognised his name. I was like, I don't know anyone called Forrest. But then there was a picture of a man sat on a bench. I didn't really know much else about it. But it was outstanding. Absolutely loved it. And it was one of them ones that I was like, wow, this is brilliant. So that was one that I came up with. And the other one was Walter Mitty, I think, for a similar reason.
Oh, that's very similar to Forrest Gump.
Yeah, it's just a guy's name who goes on a big adventure, and because you don't know about it, if the title doesn't give something away, or I haven't seen a trailer or something, it's just one of them marvelous things where you watch it and you go, wow, because you didn't know what to expect.
Yeah.
And I think a third one that I can think of the top of my head would be The Hunt for the Wilder People.
Oh, that is, I knew nothing about that first time I saw it.
Crazy title, and I laughed throughout, felt throughout. I just loved it.
Yeah, that was a great surprise. That film, I knew nothing about it. Never heard of Taika Waititi at that point, and it was just that was a fun film. And it's great being surprised by a film, isn't it?
Yeah. And then you tell everyone about it, like you've just discovered gold or something. Oh, it was, and I did with that film and put everyone onto it. And then there's nothing worse. Not nothing worse, but one of them things as a film fan or a fan of anything really, where you love something and you tell someone about it and they just don't get it. So many times when I tell people about these great films that I've seen, if they don't appreciate it, I just feel like, our friendship means nothing.
You're not the person I imagined you to be.
No, if you don't like Hunt for the Wilder People, then we really shouldn't be friends. When you get so excited and enthused about it, and then someone watches it, and when they don't mention it again, and you know that they either haven't watched it or they hated it, it's like, right, we're done. Yes. I'm going to pray for you, but we're done.
Oh, that's great. So those are ones you'd like to see afresh.
Yeah, and any films like that, really, just, the ones that you're surprised by or ones that absolutely wow you. So obviously all the classics where you watch it and go, wow, that was amazing. So like all the experience I've had with Goonies or Star Wars or RoboCop or Rocky. Although maybe not Rocky, actually, because it was about my 50th time of watching it that I fully appreciated it for what it is. But yeah, there's so many films, but they were the ones that came to mind immediately because the expectations, I just knew nothing about it.
That's good. I was thinking it's films where I was caught by the end as well. Not knowing how it's gonna end is something you only get once when you're watching a film. You can never get that the second time. So like Fight Club, for example, that moment, I mean, I know you said you saw it coming, but I didn't. That moment where everything changes in Fight Club, I wish I could experience that again for the first time, because that was a great moment.
Yeah, I think The Usual Suspects as well for me.
Yeah. That's that. You can't experience that twice.
No, you can't re-experience it. Oh wow, because it's like even if you leave it so long, you know that there's something.
No, you do. Even like The Sixth Sense, you know right from the start, and it doesn't stop it being a good film because actually you can watch it in the light of knowing that, but you don't get that experience again. Another one was The Prestige, which is one of my favorite films. But I'd read the book before I'd seen the film. Now the book and the film end differently, but the hook of the idea is the same as to what's going on. And I wish I could have seen that film without reading the book first. Yeah, and I've been because I love it, but I would have loved to have been surprised by the end of it. Yeah, and another one for me would be Contra Tiempo. I don't know if I'm saying that right. It's can't remember what the English name was, but it's one I saw on Netflix and it'd been recommended. It was another one of them films that I didn't know anything about. Just someone recommended, watched it, and it was a bit like Hunt for the Wilderpeople. I was telling everyone about watch this film because it's it's a Spanish film. I think it's so twisty and turny, and it was really, really good. Really enjoyed that, but the ending has got quite a kick. Yeah, it's one of the ones where everyone, when you talk to people and they go, "Oh yeah, I knew what was coming." No, you didn't. You just make yourself feel better. No. Do you know what I mean? I did with Fight Club, but most of them I don't. What was that one? That Nicole Kidman one with had a big twist with the others. Yeah, I remember I went to the cinema. Who was I with? I think I was with my dad or somebody. Anyway, it was with Ian. It was with Ian Comforth, I think. Weirdly, and I remember leaning over halfway through and going, "They're the ghosts. They're the ones who are dead." And I was joking at the time, but the second that clicks in your head, the whole film from that point on, you're like, "Oh no, I'm right, aren't I?" If you haven't seen the others, sorry if Luke just spoiling that for you. But it's like 20 years old now. Yeah, it is. Yeah, I was just joking. But it's films like that. So there's films that you just really enjoy because you don't expect much from or you don't know anything about them that are really good. I love that joy again. And again, as you say, where the ending, where you just can't re-experience it the same. No, unless even moments in a film that just are so great the first time. If there was that Men in Black thing where they could just erase something. Yeah, I think the closest you can get to it again, re-experiencing it, is when you mention it to someone and you watch it with them, and then you watch their reaction. Yes, where you spend the whole film looking at them instead of the film. Yeah, Kate does it all the time. So I'll have watched something and I'll say, "You've got to watch this," and then she'll be asking me, "What's going to happen here? What's going to happen here?" And I won't tell her because I want her to experience that. But she gets mad at me for not telling her initially. And I say, "See that we would have spoiled it if I'd have told you." And she's like, "Well, I didn't see that coming." But yeah, half the time through films, I guess that many things that I'm usually right by the time I've got to the end of the film because I've guessed that many plots that one of them's got to be right. There's only so many directions that can take this in. Like, I don't know if you watched it. I can't remember which one it was. It was a Cloverfield. Oh, the Cloverfield Lane one. Yeah. So that's the only one I've watched of that series. But I went to watch it because it was. It must have been on Unlimited or something where I got to go for free, and I didn't get what was coming there, and I enjoyed it. It wasn't the greatest film I've ever seen, but I liked that I didn't know what was happening. Yeah, it was, and then you get it's one of those films that just keeps you guessing the whole time, and you're trying to work it all. And I enjoy that, and I enjoy a film that doesn't treat me like an idiot and will hold stuff back. It's films that tell you every little bit of just, are you sure you get this? Are you sure you understand this? It just winds me right up. Yeah. And it was a bit like The Village as well. That's another one where you're kind of onto it, but I still like it.
So get in touch. Let us know your films that you've experienced with those endings that you think, wow, I'd love to experience that sensation of that again. Or films that you had no expectation of because you didn't know anything about them, that you just thought, wow, that was amazing.
Yeah.
And we need to talk about endings or film endings at some point, because I know it's quite famous for it.
We'd have to flag that, I guess, before we did it. Like this episode, we're talking about the endings of lots of films, so you might have to skip it.
No Country for Old Men's got a famous ending.
Yeah.
But it wound me up. No end. It wound me up properly. So, but we'll do that.
Here's the thing. I just saw that recently for the first time, and now I can't for the life of me remember the ending.
Well, I'm not going to talk about it now, but I'm not going to talk about it. It's just, it was unsatisfying for me.
Right. Yeah.
But the film...
You did Vertigo recently as well, didn't you? No, you did Rear Window.
No, I did Rear View. Rear Window.
Yeah, Rear Window, yeah. Because the ending of Vertigo, I came away from the ending of Vertigo going, huh? Is that it?
Them films that finish and you're thinking there's got to be a post-credit scene.
Yeah, there's got to be something. You just walk out and you just kind of like, I don't know. Did you want me to go out like that? No Country for Old Men. It was on purpose, though. Was it to annoy?
Yeah. It was on purpose, and it's fine. Yeah. But it was designed to get us talking about things and be frustrated forever.
Yes. Yeah. I'm
trying to 99.9% of the film was absolutely amazing, and it was intentional and everything, but it just frustrated me. But then there's we'll have to talk about it. There's disappointing endings. I know it's not a film, but like Lost, the show Lost for two series was great.
I recently went through Lost again.
Into nonsense. You watched it again?
Yeah, just during the pandemic, there's been more time to do that sort of thing. And I have to say, second time round, it actually works.
Yeah,
I know that doesn't sound right, but there's clues in there from the very first few episodes. I mean, obviously they were making up as they go along, so they took those clues and repurposed them. But it kind of worked for me second time round.
Yeah, I mean, TV shows suffer from their own success a lot because they've got to end them well and people aren't satisfied. We saw that with Game of Thrones and another epic like Lost in Game of Thrones, How I Met Your Mother. So
How I Met Your Mother, dear me. I mean, I know that's not what we're here to talk about, but dear me, that was a terrible, terrible ending. I tell you what, Breaking Bad ended really, really well.
Yeah, that was strong throughout.
Perfect ending to that. Weirdly, I don't know if you've seen it, as sitcom Superstore.
I watched the first 5 and thought it was one of the most painful things I've ever watched.
we broke through the pain barrier, because with sitcoms you've got to give them a good run, because they don't find themselves until halfway through the first series.
No, I found that was Seinfeld actually, but with this I was like, this is
It had its ending was spot on, I thought.
Okay.
Yeah.
So back to film. So last week we touched on a bit with John about iconic scenes, and he was talking particularly about where the music kicks in. So we talked about the Rocky training montage and different things where the music kicks in and you've got a scene that is happening and it's amazing, and it just, the music adds to it. And I was talking about E.T., but it got me thinking about just iconic scenes. So when I was talking about, like I mentioned last week about Psycho, just films that are iconic in cinema, and not just films that are iconic, we can talk a bit about that, but things for you that maybe the lesser, the known ones that you just, when you think of that film, you think of that scene. So what are some of them for you, Luke?
It's funny. Last week my mind went blank, and this week my mind's kind of gone equally blank. So I'm trying to think of the films that I've liked the most, because obviously the films I like the most are the ones that will be the ones that have the most iconic scenes for me. So just thinking recently, if we go recently, I know you didn't like this film quite as much as me, but Parasite.
Yeah.
There's the moment where everything changes. And with what's going on in the basement, and that for me, the whole the reveal of what's been going on all along at that moment, I thought was a great moment. It's reveal moments actually often that do it. In Fight Club, it's the reveal moment where it goes back over those other bits and reframes them in a different way.
Yeah.
Great sequence that.
Moments that have you almost gasping or going,
yeah,
your mouth open.
Like, whoa! And that's more, I guess, of a structure moment. But of course, you think of the other favorite films. Like you look at Star Wars, the big sequence for me in all of the Star Wars films when I was growing up was the whole Jabba the Hutt's palace bit. I love that. I love all of that so much.
Yeah, I mean, because I think there is iconic scenes that are iconic. Do you know what I mean? Like Pulp Fiction, the dance scene, or things that you were at Psycho, or things that everyone will relate to, that quotable Dirty Dancing with the lift and things like that. But then there's films, there's scenes that are personal moments for you. Like for me, there's some that where in certain films that have got such iconic scenes that I not prefer, but in my mind, there's important are the scenes that seem to mean more to me.
Yeah.
Or other films where there's like Stand By Me. I love Stand By Me as a film. And one of my favourite scenes in any film really is the scene where they're on the railway tracks in Stand By Me.
Yeah.
And they're walking along the railway tracks and then there's suddenly a train coming. I just loved it it's just to change the pace. There's a sense of danger, a sense of adventure, and there's the friendship there, and then there's a comedic element to it as well. And it's shot really, really well. So, yeah really good.
I'm a sucker for some of the big. I mean, I'm a big fan of all of the Mission Impossible films, apart from the second one. But anytime those big epic stunt scenes in those are ones I could watch time and time again. The climbing up the Burj Khalifa, love it. Grabbing a hold of the side of an aeroplane, love that. I'm a sucker for that kind of thing where I can look at it but knowing what goes behind. It's weird sometimes the material they release when they're talking about a film goes, look, we really did this. Here's how we did it. Makes me more excited to see that scene, knowing that it's not just CGI.
Yeah.
So the marketing clearly works on me.
Yeah, and you were saying that one of your favourite scenes is the opening scene to Raiders of the Lost Ark.
I think it's one of the best opening sequences in any film ever, and one of the best introductions to a character. You learn everything you need to know about Indiana Jones in those opening moments.
Yeah, and I think, as I said last week, my favourite opening scene, and probably one of the most powerful scenes I've seen in film, is Saving Private Ryan. The whole sequence really, but the first few minutes where it's not even the horrors that they're going to get to. You can feel the tension before they get there because of all the sort of history, and we know what it is.
Yeah.
You can feel it in the characters. You can feel it in the air. It's almost tangible, the apprehension, tension, and sheer dread of what they're going into. And then you see the reality, which in truth is probably far worse than even they were anticipating.
Yeah.
But it just captures so well the sound of the bullets, the distorted sound, so you can't really hear what's going on. The bullets flying through the water, just bodies everywhere, blood. It's traumatic.
It's so effective,
especially when you know it's based on truth.
Yeah. It's that whole sequence is it's one of the greatest cinematic sequences ever, and maybe that is the best opening. No, it still doesn't beat Raiders.
So it does for me, and that's what we were talking about last week when you said the best opening sequence of cinema ever. And I was like, if we were playing opening sequence poker, I would raise you with Saving Private Ryan.
Okay, you might just get me on that one.
But they're very different. One's introducing a character and the whole thing. One context we know because we've read history books.
Yes,
there's been so many films and programs and documentaries made about it.
Yeah.
But for me, it's like a lot, and slightly going off on a tangent, but I think film has helped me understand history in a lot of areas.
Yeah.
So when we used to read about the horrors of the D-Day landings and the war and all that happened there on those days, I only ever really got it when I watched Saving Private Ryan.
Right, okay.
When we learned about the Holocaust, as traumatic and horrendous as it was, I think when I saw it in film format on Schindler's List, the suggestion, it brought it home at a level that I'd never fully engaged with before. I knew it, but again, I couldn't place myself there because it's more about visual stuff for me.
Mm.
And then I went to Auschwitz after I'd seen Schindler's List, and it just not helped, because I don't know if help's the right word, but it helped fit the pictures in for me. And the same as even when I went to we went to France, to Flanders, and went France and Belgium, and seen the war graves and stuff. Seeing them and being there helped me understand things. So I think film has helped me in a lot of areas with that, particularly around war, I think. Or, you know, I said the Holocaust, it's not that I didn't understand it, but visually, it just brought the trauma home.
Yeah.
Even Jojo Rabbit too a bit. Particularly, there's a couple of scenes in that talking about not iconic scenes, but scenes that really tell you how serious and how devastating this was. There's particularly one scene in Jojo Rabbit that does that, amongst all the controversy about whether it's, you know, you should be joking about this and whether it's powerful enough, and I think it is, but there's one scene in it which really does hammer that horror home.
Yeah, it really does. It's powerful. It's powerful, and I think that's one of the important things about the unfortunate side of that is it becomes very easy for film to rewrite history and show history in the wrong way. You look at films like Braveheart, for example, that just rewrite history, and that's one of the dangers of film. But one of the useful things about films, it really can connect you to something that otherwise you'd have a cold read on, and you don't really feel emotionally involved in. And
that's another point, because like. So we could talk about this for hours. It's one thing I've got an opinion on, because I always say I don't like Braveheart because it's historically inaccurate.
Yeah.
So many ways. And then people say, yeah, but it doesn't matter. And I'm saying it does, or call him something different. If he was called Wallace Williamson, I wouldn't have cared. You know, but when you're basing it on a real person, either tell the real story, or if you want to use the story that you've got, then call it something else. And for me, it would have been far better. But
that's I mean, that's one of the things. Saving Private Ryan's not about real people, but it's about a real situation. You're watching a fiction. You know, you're watching people who don't exist, but it's connecting you with a situation that did happen. And I think that's an important thing to be able to do. But yeah, that's always the problem with telling a real story, is you've got to add bits because you don't know what happened every second of the day.
Yeah.
And it's where that line is between the stuff you add and what really happens that it can be dangerous. That's one reason I'm not massively keen on retellings of the life of Jesus on film. Because to do a film, you've got to add stuff. Well, when you start doing that, you're getting into some dodgy territory. Yeah,
and say that to give Gibson his due in terms of the Passion of the Christ, I didn't hate it, because I was worried when it came out that he would go all Braveheart on it. You know what I mean? We'd have all kinds of aspects that were more entertaining. But so I didn't. The issues that I worried about didn't materialise.
Yeah. What about films where the classic scene for you is the end? What's the best endings of films? For example, I've got one. Every time I watch it, the last scene in It's a Wonderful Life will reduce me to a blubbering wreck. Every time. No, you know, it's just no. I love so many of that film. Parts of that film really hit me strong. But the end, every time when everyone arrives and everyone's helping them, it finishes me off.
Yeah, that's a good question. I kind
of pulled that out of left field there, sorry.
No, but there will be them. I say, I think Usual Suspects is probably the one.
Yeah, that's a good end. That's a very good end.
I like trying to think of other key endings that, like, right at the end.
Yeah. Kind of throwing that one in there, sorry. That's
No, but I'll think about it, and we can ask it on social media, and I'll come back to.
Here's another one. We can ask this one on social media, because comedy is one of those things where first time it hit, you're laughing at something because comedy is the unexpected and things like that. What comedy films has a scene in that, no matter how many times you've seen it, will always make you laugh?
Well, I mean, going with, It's a Wonderful Life thing, for me, it would be Home Alone. I don't matter how many times I watch it, those bits with, the wet bandits getting smashed about, still funny. Funny. Still make me do this. Still make me wince. So laugh and wince. The bit where all of them, I can't just name them.
There's the paint. There's the bit in Home Alone 2 where he grabs the sink, and it's electrocuted. And it's corny as anything when he turns into a skeleton.
Yeah.
But every single time, that gets me.
Yeah. And out of all the things, it's like you can... Do like where film brings you closer? We were talking the other week about Spielberg, where he does stuff in a way, particularly like Jaws, where he places you on the beach. You can smell the sun cream. You can feel the heat. It's like that with Home Alone. It's the pain they're feeling is almost tangible. So it's like in football, when you watch football or when you watch anything, as a man, I don't know if it's the same for women because I just don't know. But when you see somebody get kicked between the legs or hit between the legs, you can relate to that instantly.
Yes, you can.
Because you've experienced it, you felt it, and it doesn't leave you. It's a bit like that with Home Alone, that we've all trod on things or been hit by things, and you can instantly relate to that pain and it doesn't leave you.
You can.
Not in the same way. I've never had my hair set on fire or been hit in the face by a tin of swinging paint, but still, it's like every time. So their comedy scene that I always laugh at.
That's a good answer. That's a good answer. I was just thinking of what sparked it for me was I was just looking through a list of some of my favourite films and Game Night. Have you seen Game Night? There's the whole sequence from when they go into the bar to rescue the brother, up to the sewing up the bullet hole wound. Every single time, that entire bit, I am just in fits of the whole bullet hole bit, where she's trying to browse how to repair a bullet wound with a phone, but she can't use her hands and she's using her nose to browse the phone, and all of that. So he's got a squeaky toy in his mouth to deal with the pain, so every time the squeaky toy squeaks.
You're laughing now just talking about it.
Every single time that gets me.
But yeah, I mean, there's so many. Like even Airplane. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know the jokes.
It's knowing the jokes that makes it funny.
Yeah, but still laugh. Proper laugh. Not like, chuckle. Still, it's brilliant.
Oh, dear. Oh, I'm going to go watch a good comedy next. That's what I'm going to have to do.
Yeah, I want to watch The Other Guys again.
All right, okay.
Because I watched it when it first came out and I loved it as a comedy. But I haven't seen it for so long.
Yeah.
But I remember loving it and I watched it a couple of times and I bought it like the day after I'd watched it and thinking, yeah, this is great. But I haven't watched it for, probably since the first 3 or 4 times I watched it quite close together. So I want to see if I still find that funny. There was a bit where his gun goes off and I like that.
That must be available somewhere, that one, I'd have thought.
Yeah, I've got it on Blu-ray anyway. But
anyway, let us know which scenes are the iconic scenes for you, which openings to films you find to be the best films, which ends to films you find to be the best, and of course, which scenes will make you laugh every time you watch them. And you can get in touch with us via our Twitter, with JTA Films on Twitter. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah. JTA Films, yeah.
You can get in touch on our Facebook, or you can comment on the YouTube page as well.
Yeah, and also, as we've said, we just talk about films. That's what we do. So whatever films you've watched, whatever your interest, however many you watch a week, get in touch with us. Let us know to come on. And you can come on and join this conversation, chat about what you've been watching, tell us about the films that are important to you in your life, and then we'll chat about something like this, where it's endings, iconic scenes, the different things that we've talked about. So we'd love to have you on. So get in touch with us and let us know.
Yeah, but that's all we've got for this week. So have a wonderful week ahead and have a great week. Goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me. And we'll see you soon.